Hello. How are you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm so dang good. The best I've ever been, I think.
Oh, good. Good. And you're very comfortable, nice in your jammies.
I have my, I have my Wayne Hanna jammies on. Look at these things. Look, you can even see my chest. I do like every other button just to air it out a little bit. And then I've
Yeah.
got my Zen AF hat because I'm
Ooh.
ready for this healing with Shawnalee episode, and my magic background with sparkles. Yeah.
I need some sparkles. Yes. Well, thank you. And it seems like you might have gone live just a few minutes before we got on.
I was in here and bored. So I had to tell some people about it because I was excited to come on live with my sister Shawnalee.
Oh, yes.
That's my adopted sister. We found each other through the Giants, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And
And I
then
was like, Ryan, will you please be my brother?
and I was like, I would love to be your brother. Will you please be my sister? And
Yes.
then we had a blood oath, and then no, just kidding. We didn't have
Yes.
a blood.
And it was done.
That's right. Hi, Lori.
Yes, hello, love you
Do you
too.
want me to run the comments? This is what I normally do.
Ooh,
So like I feel like
yes.
I'm in like in the hot seat, but then also like I feel like Goose and Maverick. Like I feel like, a
Ooh,
wingman right now. This is where
I
I'm
love it.
comfy.
Yeah, I love it. That was one of my favorite shows growing up, and I've probably seen that like, no, I don't know, 300 times.
Oh, really? Like I Top Gun's rad.
Yeah.
Is the new one ever coming out? Did it already come out? I think they
Um,
delayed it like 9 times or something.
yeah, they delayed it like 9 times. I think it comes out in like June or July this year,
Huh.
and it'll be epic. That's definitely one that I'm going to be seeing. Oh, Goose. Yes. Feel bad about Goose.
Now I need some. We should have had some Maverick or some Top Gun theme song going on, but that's okay.
Oh, we should. I
Next
like
time.
that.
Not goosed. Nick says goosed.
Ghost.
Goose singular, not
Yeah,
as in the action verb. Is that an action word?
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, sure, why not? We'll get goosed.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is supposed to. Maybe that's healing. You didn't know
that
you were going to
might
get
be
that kind of
very
healing on
good.
this show today, huh?
Yes. Yes, humor is healing, and that is what we are here for.
Yeah.
Is healing isn't always sad, it isn't always dark. Sometimes it may not be pretty. And what Healing with Shawnalee, the reason for the show is to help empower you to take on that healing for your own self and empowering you to find that healer in you. As young Pueblo says, that we are our own healer, our own hero, and own leader, I
Mm.
think. Healer, something. I don't know.
I think that was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you made up, you could have even just said that, like I've always said,
Like I've always
and
said.
just said it.
Yeah,
Nobody
like
would have
I've
known.
always said. Yeah. And Socrates is focusing the power on the new, and those have been guiding thoughts and quotes for me in my healing journey and awakening to who we are being in every moment.
Hmm.
And so tonight we'll be discussing the throat chakra. If you're not familiar with that, chakras are our energy centers and they help us with our expression. They help us with who we are. And so if they are blocked, many things can manifest. So, what is happening on the inner world is also expressing itself on the outer world. I love Louise Hay. She's talks about the metaphysical aspects that happen with that. So, like if you are not expressing your truth, then a lot of things can happen. Like hypothyroidism is one of the things. Teeth problem, if you're not expressing your truth. And what happens is
You were
like,
you were talking about that before though with the thyroid, right?
yeah,
Maybe tell them about that, like how that
yeah.
happened to you. But you keep. I mean, it's your show.
No, no, I
I
like
go into like interviewee mode, like, hey, you should tell
no,
them about
that's
that.
perfect.
I thought it was an amazing story, and I'm like, I could see how
Yeah,
that could manifest. So
yeah. Yeah, so I've had hypothyroidism, and if you're not familiar with that, it's not the funnest. Uh, makes it so you can't really lose weight. You have overactive thyroid. Well, then that just means that you're just in that constant burn mode. And the hypothyroid is it's just very slow. And so, what happens if we are not expressing our truth, if we are holding within, or if we are speaking ill to other people, or about other people, in essence, then what can manifest is one of the things is hypothyroidism, as well as other problems. Well, I had hypothyroidism and got up to 264 pounds, and really was just like stuck within. I created this masculine shield, is what they call it, around you for protection, because I did not feel safe in my own body. I didn't feel safe to express my truth, and I didn't feel safe to stand up for myself. I was a people pleaser. I did whatever, you know. I love that. Yeah, Ryan, interview away. And so, yeah, so one of the things that can happen is that. And if we are not honest in our expressions, that can also come up. And so really looking at where it is and who we are being and how our communication is going. Just kind of lost one of my thoughts, but so that's kind of what the throat chakra is it's your energetic
and I felt
center.
like I feel that. I don't know. I guess I haven't paid close enough attention to how that's manifesting, sometimes when I've
Yeah,
had that, but now that I'm aware of it, I'll start paying more attention of like I know that there's this inner um like there's this inner feeling of energy that needs to go somewhere, but it doesn't. I don't know if it always knows where to go.
yeah,
When I've had that experience, when I've felt wronged or I'm mad at somebody, or or say things that talk about people behind their back, it's not a good thing to do.
no,
And those things, um I'm sure they manifest. I guess I haven't really paid attention enough to watch that and say, oh, that's where that's showing up. But it's nice to know if things are happening in your body, to know
yeah,
what's happening with your chakras. You could
yes,
then go back and pinpoint and go, oh, that's what that is. And
yeah,
I'm betting that, like, a lot of things, there's a lot of people that I talk to, and we obviously do interview a lot of people. There's been a lot of people that said, hey, I had these medical issues going on. I would go to the doctor. I would have
yeah,
have these exams. They would look at me. They would do all these blood tests, every type of test that you could think of, and they can't find a dang thing wrong with me.
yeah,
But I'm having these things that are manifesting, in physical form.
yes,
Those could be with, we could be figured out right through, understanding your chakras, or it could give you more answers than what you have currently that might not be able to be explained through medicine or exact science, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, exactly.
I'm
So
just hoping I'm right. I'm hoping that you
actually, that
think
was
I'm
right
right, because I don't know.
on.
You're the expert on this stuff. Like,
No, I think that was right on. We always are learning. We're always growing, and I wouldn't say any of us are experts. Is we're all just figuring this out. And same thing with like the expression with people. Like I've had my own instances too that shouldn't have talked about somebody, or shouldn't have taken out my anger, or oh gosh, mom's just tired. Would you just leave me alone? Just those moments where we have our humanness and where sometimes we mess up. And so those things can manifest. And if you're just constantly like, sometimes you need to take someone aside and say, okay, we need to just have a minute, to communicate. One of my mentors said, if you need to write a paragraph and a half of a text, well, then that's a conversation that you're speaking over. It needs to occur. So if it's more than just, if it's a few sentences, then great. But if you're like writing paragraphs and paragraphs, then that's probably a conversation that you need to have. Or if you're having someone that you can open up with and just say, okay, you know what, I need to express. Or asking someone like, hey, is it okay? Are you in a good place right now? Can I vent to you? And just realizing that you're just letting it out and not bottling it up.
I like that too, because it also asks for permission to tell, to talk to somebody about that. So you're not just dumping their
Yeah.
energy on them. But I also wonder,
Mhm.
so like for those that like, I mean, I'm pretty new at this stuff. When you and I have done some stuff, I've actually booked a session and done a Reiki session with you, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. And so people might not know or understand, chakras and all of that stuff. And me, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Can you like, and we're mostly talking about the throat chakra,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
But can you explain what that is, and then that gives everybody else some context to go, oh, okay, I can understand
Oh,
that.
this is what this is
Yeah,
about.
yeah. They have
Yeah.
to Google themselves.
Yes. Um, my kids are always like, Mom, we need some context here. Can you just provide a little bit? And I forget that, not everybody knows what's going on in my head. That's one of the things of communication too,
Yeah,
is like,
I have lots of conversations in my head that I think I tell people.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
And we're not all telepathic. So
no, sorry,
those
everyone.
things need to be said out loud. But so Reiki is a form of energy healing. It's considered a spiritual practice. And so with Reiki, it can go to your mental, your physical, your
Happy birthday,
emotional,
Judy.
happy birthday, and spiritual bodies. So it could go to any one of the layers of our body. So not only can it happen physically, but we have these outer bodies where things can manifest, like your aura. If you think about your aura, it extends outside of you. And that's what people feel when you go into a room. And so our auras come next to each other, and we can feel and know what kind of a sense. There's an inner knowing. Like if you walk into a room and you feel if somebody just has pure anger. Um, oh yes, vent to them. Yes, to ask if they release. Yeah. So if somebody's holding a lot of anger inside of themselves, that instantly changes the whole room. You can feel that.
Mhm.
Like if somebody's shining bright and in a happy mood, that can also affect the world around you. So when we are blocked, so say for the throat chakra specifically, when we're blocked in the throat chakra, what happens is we're no longer in our bodies. And to kind of explain that, like you want to be in your body, you want to be out of your head,
Mm.
because our mind can take over and anything can happen in there. And so really when we're down in our heart center is ideal, being in the heart and yeah, shining bright like the diamond, and opening up your heart for the expression, feeling safe in your body. Like the root chakra is all about safety and security. Your sacral chakra, which is the second chakra, is about not only just your sexuality, but your creativity and your expression. And that's directly actually related to your throat chakra. So think about expression and creativity. And if you're blocked, like if you're a writer and you can't write, if you're um, angry and you just don't know how to express, that could be one of the things that too is they both correlate with each other. Then you have your solar plexus that
You know what?
comes
It's funny
next.
because I just was thinking about.
Yeah,
I watched the YouTube clip that you sent me and talking about some of this stuff, and I was
yeah,
preparing for this and just thinking about it. And the lady talked about, creativity. It was like creative constipation,
yeah,
and so you can't create, and so you gotta flow and release those things, so that then the creativity can start again. So if you're
yeah,
blocked somewhere, you got that energy constipation going on.
yes.
You go back to, take the I don't know, take the find out where it's happening in your
Yeah,
chakras, release it, and it'll start flowing again.
yeah, yeah. She said to write on a piece of paper, take a couple pens and just scribble it out or draw or see what comes out and see what manifests from that anger or from that frustration, or see what comes out on paper to be able to release it.
Hmm.
And then you're not constipated anymore.
Yeah.
It's an energy laxative. Yes, it is. Let it flow. Let it flow and let it
Oh,
go.
yeah, let it go. Hey, you know what's weird about that?
Yeah.
So here, I'll show
Your
you. I don't
diarrhea.
know if you guys can see this. I'll have to put it closer to my screen. But this is an Anna and Elsa Frozen bracelet. You can't see it because of my green screen. But
Yeah.
the white says "Let it go."
Ooh, I love it.
Have that on me so that I remember like what's important and when I should just let it go. And sometimes
Let
it's
it go.
yelling into the air and
Yes.
just releasing. I watched her that video that you sent me, and we could probably put that in the comments. But
Yeah.
she hits here and
Oh,
and
yes.
then lets that go, right? And then goes,
Yeah. Releases that pressure right.
like really loud, like that was better
Somatic
than I did.
healing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that in itself, so we clear through breath, we clear through sound, we clear through fiber one,
that helps too sometimes.
and through movement, and not like bowel movement, but apparently to let that shit go.
Sometimes you have to, and that could be the stuff that's inside you and the stuff that's inside you. Sometimes you
Yes,
got to let it go, or else it's going to
literally.
manifest. If you don't speak that and get it out, or get things flowing and figure out what's happening in your body, it could manifest into
Yeah,
physical form in the form of, we were talking before about disease, right?
deceive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're not feeling right, that could be an expression of like what's going on around you or
yeah,
inside of you that's trying to get out but doesn't know where to go, and so it manifests in some sort of problem. Yours with thyroid, it
yeah,
could be cancers, it could be colds, it could be
yeah,
slipping and falling and putting your elbow through a jar,
yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
It can be like that's your receiving side. So left side, this is the feminine side, so that's receiving. Oh yes.
Whoopsies. Then everyone's gonna be like, yeah, Ryan has a really hard time with that. I know. And then the universe let me know in a really
Yes.
dramatic way that you need to receive a little bit.
Yeah,
Slow
that you need to
down.
open up and receive and slow down. Yeah.
Oops.
And not every second needs to be filled with jars are the best teachers. They are. Everything's a message.
You
And
heard me.
so we are the message as well. And it's always expressing itself through our outer world and always a teacher.
Hmm.
Um, and so then it's like, oh, what is the message in this? Where am I not hearing, or where am I not seeing, or what is the universe pointing out here in this moment? And being able to look at that.
Nick. So I have this thing. I don't know why, but I relate really well to women. I don't know what it is, but like
That's good.
I'm in a bunch of like women's groups, and most
Yeah,
of my friends are women, and
that's okay.
I can
Have that open
decorate.
heart. I think we talked about that a little bit today too, is that you just have that open heart and you make it safe for the feminine to feel secure.
Mm,
And that's one of the things of the masculine. The masculine is the structure. He's the provider. He's the one that holds that safe place to just holding space. And you hold beautiful space for everyone. And like yes, he does got a huge heart.
thanks,
And
brother.
so that's
Thanks,
why
Lori.
you're easily to be relatable to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I try. It's I feel like it comes a little more easy for me. Maybe that's partly my personality, mixed with the way that I was raised. My mom was that way. Like my mom and my dad, truthfully, like dad is always serving other people, and doing things for others and speaking good into the world. And so that's what shows up in their reality. They're very good at that stuff. And so that I feel like some of that was passed on, but at the same time too, I mean, it's still the real world. There's still situation. Oh, thanks. Amber says that I've always been like that, and I appreciate that. But
Yes.
it's still not. It's still something that sometimes I have to think about it. Before I'm reactionary
Yeah.
in situations. Like mostly, I would say it comes natural, but sometimes there's moments where I have to slow down, or sometimes I act without thinking and just speak it out there. And then we were talking before the show about
Yeah.
once you say something bad about somebody or yourself, right?
Mhm.
About who was it that said you have to speak 17 other positive things to replace the one negative?
Les Brown.
Of course, it's Les Brown. Where's Laban? We need Laban on here. Will somebody tag Laban? Get him on here.
Laban.
Yeah.
Yes. Les
Les Brown, the number one coach in the world. So if you want
Mhm.
if you want to know some truth, go
Mm.
follow Mr. Les Brown because he knows a thing or two.
Yeah. You
But
got to be
how
hungry.
how often do we not just talk bad about other people, but we're probably way worse on ourselves
Yeah.
than other people? Is anybody guilty of that? A bunch of people at home are like, "Hmm."
Yeah, let me raise my
Who
hand.
does like the positive self-talk thing in the mirror? I know Shawnalee writes on her mirror because
Mm-hmm.
I follow Shawnalee on her posts and stuff on
Yeah.
Facebook. Um, I don't write on the mirror. I probably should, but it would be funny. I would probably say the weirdest things and then get in trouble with my kids. But I started talking to myself, and I don't know if this is anywhere in the flow of what was supposed to be
Yeah.
talked about,
I know
but
it.
the flow, like with for me, was like I started talking to myself. I know this is weird, everybody.
Mm-mm.
They're
It's
like,
not.
he sits and talks to himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I'm getting ready for the day and I'm getting in the shower, I had like I can gain weight very quickly. I can lose weight very quickly. I can gain muscle very quickly and lose muscle very quickly. It's like it's genetic, like
Mhm.
I could whoop, whoop, whoop. But it was weird. I was having this hard time losing some weight,
Oh, yeah.
and I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And I've always been able to just, hey, if I kicked it into gear, watched what I ate, I didn't even have to necessarily exercise a ton, but pounds would fall off and everybody would be like, wow, that's amazing, lost 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds, whatever. But this
Yeah.
last round, that's funny. Hold on one sec. That's true. That's 100% true.
That's awesome, though.
So, yeah. So then I started hearing stuff about loving yourself, loving your body.
Mhm.
And I've tried like all different types of things for weight loss. I mean,
Yeah.
you almost name it. I probably tried it at some point or a version of it. Um, and I wasn't. It just wasn't happening. And once I started talking to myself and holding myself, hugging myself, touching the parts of me that were holding on to the weight, telling myself I was proud of myself. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for all the things that you've done to keep me safe. I release you. It's okay. And showing myself love and telling myself like no matter what I look like, I'm
Yeah.
me. And loving myself for exactly who I am but then not just looking in the mirror and seeing words or just, I actually then would turn around and say it.
Mm.
And it was yeah, even my pinkies, Nick, even my small parts. You
Even
got
with
to
me,
love every part,
every
big,
part.
little, the small parts. You got to do it. And and there's a lot of people
Everything.
that thank you for telling me that you do too, because I felt weird there for a minute.
No, that's actually one of the things that I recommend to my clients. So that's perfect. Like,
What's up,
I've
cuz?
had to do it with myself too. Like, I got emotional there for just a minute because that has been one of my core wounds.
Mm,
That started with me in sixth grade. And I had carried that emotional wound and that baggage around me with my entire life. And I would speak those negative things out into the world. And I would speak those things to myself. And I would tell myself, oh, you're so stupid. And
mm,
I'd be harsher than that to myself and be my biggest critic. And then that resistance, when you're focusing on the negative and when you're resisting, it just puts up that resistance, that magnet, and it just repels. Instead of getting closer, it just pushes it further apart, is because you're wanting it and you're begging for it. And then just you can feel that energetic response that just happens. It's like, nope, this is not happening.
now you've
And
taught
that's where I put myself in.
yeah. Um, I just had this thought about, and you had messaged me earlier. You had mentioned the shadow of the heart or shadow of the throat, right?
Yes. Ooh,
Now
yes.
this could tie into this as well because you
That
could,
ties
right?
perfect.
Because that's guilt. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Will you tell me about teach me, learn me some
Yes.
things here, Shawnalee, so that I can know
Yeah.
what's happening with the throat chakra and then the how powerful words are
Yeah.
in your manifestation and your creation.
You're so much better at asking the questions than I am. You're a natural at this in your communication.
It's just well, I guess that's just, it's just like you've done I've done 0 Reiki's, you know,
Yeah.
sessions for anybody, and you've done a billion.
Yeah.
Same thing, just a little bit of time and experience. That's all.
Yes,
You're
but
well
that's
on your way.
yeah, well on your way. Yeah,
Yeah.
so one of the shadows of the chakra. So you have a light side and you also have the shadow side. One of the shadows is guilt, and yeah, it does push away. And so one of the guilt is not only it's like when we talk out of expression towards other people, if we're miscommunicating, if we're talking harm over people or things like that, but the shadow of the throat chakra is guilt for your own cause. So like if you are talking bad about yourself and you aren't being your best friend, if you're the one that's putting yourself down the entire time, that is when it also becomes blocked. And so what happens when you are blocked in the throat, so if you think of your chakras, so like this is your heart, here's your throat and third eye and your crown. The lower ones are your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root chakra. Well, it just pushes you up and it pushes you into your mind because it closes off the third eye and you're closed all the way down. So when you get into your mind, you're not only in the egoic mind, but the animal mind, the carnal mind. I think of this as the really wounded mind of where the thoughts, you hear them, none of them are positive. They're always talking down, they're negative. It just feeds and it festers. And if you think of poison, then this is where that comes from. And then you just stay stuck up in that head. And then from there, you could get into anger and aggression. And then if you're taking it out on you, well, then that's going to manifest also in the outside world. And so, yes, abracadabra. So as I speak, so then learning to clear that out, like if you have to go, like you said, go yell, scream into the wind, like take some rocks and just throw that anger out and scream it out.
Just make sure there's nothing on the other end of that, like a person or a house or a
Yeah.
car. Do it maybe like in a field.
Do it in a field, preferably. You don't want to have any theft or any damage charges.
Yeah, I don't want any like vandalism.
Yeah, vandalism. There you go. No, and you don't want somebody else on the other side of that either, because then what happens from that? Communication is key, and relationships are our greatest teacher. And oftentimes we're mirrors for each other. So, if you're having a lot of aggression or anger, then it's like, okay, well, what is this mirror telling me? And, oh, we're in my relationship. Okay, so, I had an abusive relationship and, 21 years. And so I would just say those things that were said to me over and over and over and over again. And I had done the math from that Les Brown, and it was like 2,059 something thousand, it was a lot of good things that I would have had to say to myself to cancel out all of those negative things that I said, that I repeated, that I took on as my own truth. And that's one of the things too, is like, when you're blocked, you're not able to express your truth, own your truth, and then talking against yourself. And so then, of course, what happens.
I just sitting here listening to you speak that and wondering about like all the different types of communication that we have throughout maybe a day or whatnot. And I know everybody's life is a little different, and their childhood or their upbringing could be different. But I'm thinking about like day-to-day stuff for the majority of people, and so some of you this might not apply, but there's good communication, and then there's stuff that can be poor. Like, and then you talk to me about safe communication and things like that. Tell me what like your line of thinking was in that, and then I'll tell you like where I'm like, because I'm in sales, right? Like my whole job is communication. Like that's it. First impressions, and understanding where people are coming from. I'm seeing their perspective, and I'll tell you what, Nick Smith is my business partner with the Giants and the Smalls, Wake Up with Giants TV, and all the stuff. Right? He's written the Giants and the Smalls, and he knows, like, because I'll call him and be like, blah blah blah, look at this. This is what happened today, you know, right? And because he knows that industry, so I feel like I can talk to him about that stuff. But I've learned over time, like, what works, what doesn't work. You know, to be able to figure it out. But what's some of the things that you would, say to people that are trying to have healthy, safe communication?
Yes. Oh, I love that. Thank you. You're so good at this.
Was I reading your mind?
You were reading my mind. We can hear each other through, like, our vibrations as we talk, as we speak. And so, like, in sales or when you're at work or wherever you're at during your day, you can not only feel, like, you could feel the presence of someone else around you, and if they're in a good mood or a bad mood, and that can have an impact on you. So being able to set, like, those proper boundaries is, before I go out for the day, I will put my little bubble around me. Some people call it a Merkaba, but it's like a protective bubble. And so my bubble, it keeps my energy my own. So I have the boundaries that I set for myself is that I can feel other people's energy, but I do not take them on as my own. And my bubble's porous so that, I can feel those other people's feelings. And then also, one of my other intentions is that whatever is sent to me is sent back in love. And so even
you're not holding on to whatever was somebody else's. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're not holding on, because I did at one point. And
Reminds me of like Captain America or something like that. Shield up.
Yeah, shield up. And so, like with my daughter, I had to go in for a Reiki session with my Reiki master because, healers need healers, teachers need teachers, coaches need coaches. And she's like, Shawnalee, this is not your anger. Whose anger is it? And I was like, oh, okay, that was my daughter's. And she's like, it's not yours to process. Give that back to her. And so I had to give it back.
But how often that comes in a lot, I would imagine, for people, but we just take it and keep going because it's, we don't know these things.
Yeah.
Right? It's just part of day to day, and you just go to bed, wake up the next day and start over again. And over time, that could be super destructive or harmful to you, harmful to others.
Yeah.
But if you start recognizing and become conscious and aware of energy, you can give that right back to the person. Love them.
Yeah.
Say, hey, this isn't mine. Sending this back. And this happens to me at work. So customers will come in the front door, and
yes,
I mean, sales at a delership, right? Everybody goes into the dealership with their guard way up. They're like,
yeah,
don't talk to me. They're gonna try to sell me something, right? Yeah, there's no trust. And so like I'll cruise in, like in my jammies and my Zen AF type hat and be like, hey guys, how's it going? And they'd be like, we just want to look at trailers, like that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, okay. I could make that choice to go right back into, like, throw that back at them and be a jerk back.
Yeah.
But then I realized this isn't my energy. This is theirs. And I'll give it back, give that back to them. And then I kill the crap out of them with kindness. I just try to win, like I try to find where the common ground is and how they like to be communicated with.
Yeah.
What's that bridge? But if I took all the energy home, oh my gosh, maybe I am a mess, everybody. Maybe I do take it all home, but I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like I'm fairly good at letting go of most of it. You may want to ask most people that are closest to me because they would probably tell you otherwise. I don't know. Nick, Amber, anybody?
Yeah.
Probably. I feel like I'm decent about like letting it go. Sometimes it bugs me. I'm human.
Yeah.
But I could still give it back to the person that it was and then calm down, breathe through it.
Breathe through it. Just understand that they're all human too. And they might not even be consciously aware that they're doing it either. A lot of times that we don't understand. A lot of times we don't know, where we are. So trying to understand from their perspective, because they might not have that inner knowing of how they're acting and how they're being in that moment. We talk a lot about being. And so just understanding, people can only understand from their level of perspective. And sometimes it's not always you. And so understanding that as well. Yeah, he's good at letting things go.
I got my bracelet on. I gotta know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So just kind of understanding where people are and, taking that into consideration. And is it like, do I want to take this on? Is this somewhere where maybe I could have some more learning, and understand where people are? And so when we balance the throat chakra, it's a huge power for our intuition. And just like you said, you read people when they come in the door. You kind of understand where they are. And so that's your intuition. It's like a triangle. It's our throat, our heart, our third eye makes one triangle, which is connected to, of course, the crown. But then the lower center, then you have your lower chakra. So it's like the physical earth and the spiritual come together and they meet. And like when we're expressing too, it's also the hearing. And what are we willing to listen to people? So are we listening through our hearts? Are we listening through love? And are we expressing and communicating through love too? Because a lot of the things, like I was so closed off in my ears, in my marriage, like I didn't want to hear, and I wasn't mature enough to take on the responsibility. And I was very much in the victim, which, in a sense I was. But understanding where you're at and really being able to hear that other person out. And, so kind of what is communication to you?
So I was thinking, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about like my personality and when I have a customer that comes in the door, or have somebody in my life that um, that is throwing, like I'm almost like shade at me, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just throwing stuff at me, that energy at me, and a lot of times it's not mine, it's theirs, right? So,
Yeah.
but I also might be something that's happening. I have to do a check and say, hey, whoa, ooh, is this me or is this them?
Yeah.
I was thinking about boundaries. You had mentioned boundaries to me, and how important is that? Like, what can you do to set up boundaries so that you can protect, and it line up everything that needs to be lined up with your
Yeah.
chakras? What's the teach me some of that stuff? Like, I'm
Yeah.
super curious
Yeah.
because I
So
have a hard time with boundaries sometimes.
the world teaches you, right, to close off your heart. The world will teach you that, you close in, throw shade.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
She's
It's all about
Dorothy Inez. She's like, "Who throws shade at my brother?" What? That's how I heard it in my head. Is that how you said it? I hope
I
it is.
do. I
That
loved that.
was amazing.
And
She
that's how a
protects
lot
me.
of people teach you. Like the world teaches you, like, go get it, I'm going to make them pay kind of energy. And that's like a taking energy. And that's not where we want to be. And setting those proper boundaries is, saying, hey, you know what, this is how I would like you to treat me. And this is how I love me. But this is also how you love me too. And, if we can't meet in the middle, well, if you aren't allowed to treat me as the way that I want to be treated, then, that's when I start moving you out of my life, or maybe not moving you out of my life, but maybe you're not in my close friendship anymore, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's happened to me several times where I've had to
yeah,
completely remove certain people. There's
yeah,
other things where, if a certain situation happens, but you can forgive, I can forgive, but if it happens repeatedly over and over, they become those repeat offenders, right? That just
yes,
don't change. Well, then you got to decide, like, how much do I let this person influence me? And
yeah,
so you're in control of your time, your energy. So then you could step back a little bit farther, a little bit farther. Maybe, this is a good question. What if it's a family member? I've had that. And
yeah,
I've had to step aside and either have that conversation
yep,
with those people directly. And if then they won't respect me and what's happening in my world, then I've got to, I maybe have to make some
Definitely.
decisions, and it might not be right off to the, like, hey, we're just going to cut them off instantly.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how egregious and how often that's happening. But for me, it would be
Yeah.
more like, okay, maybe I don't take their phone call as often. Maybe I let it go to voicemail a little more often and get back to them when I have time.
Yeah.
And there's some power in that of saying, hey, and you don't even have to explain yourself. Hey, saw you called.
Nope.
What's up?
Exactly.
You
That
know,
was one thing.
versus trying to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I saw you called and I was busy and I did this and I did this. It's giving them the power. They
Mm.
can influence you at any point in time. It's no, maybe I'll just call them back. Say, hey, saw you called. What's happening? What's up?
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Ooh.
Sometimes it is like, hey, clear cut boundaries. Like, look, this is what happens when we communicate. I don't like it. So this is how it's going to be. And I want, you need to respect my boundaries because I'm not going to let you not respect my boundaries and maybe get a little bit
Right.
more forceful. Sometimes it's like, bye,
See ya.
right? I got to go.
Had to remove you out.
I don't
Yep.
have very many people in my life anymore that don't respect
Yeah.
me and my boundaries. And when they don't, then they get a message and they get talked to about it but there was a time where I didn't
Yeah.
have much. I was a yes man, right? Say yes to everything.
Same.
And so
Same.
then what happens when you speak that, right? You say
Yep.
yes to everything. You can have burnout. You can feel violated, but you're not communicating to those people what your boundaries are.
Yeah.
And they might not know. They might not
They
even
might not
know.
know. They
And
might
then once
not
they know,
know.
they might change, right?
Yeah. And you just had to express to them that it was okay to disrespect, that it was
Mm,
okay that, oh, you'll give in. Oh, so how much more can I take? And then people are like, oh, how much more can I take? And then there's a point that you just have to say, no, I'm sorry. I had to do that in my business as well and say, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm in a business. Like, you wouldn't do this and go to wherever you're buying from and do that to someone.
right.
Like, being able to say that dynamic takes you back to the old.
Mm,
So, talking about the other side of a healed throat chakra, the power of the voice. Like, how was the world created? It was the voice, right? It was
spoken
one
word,
who
right?
spoke the word. Hmm.
Hmm,
And so when we are aligned and when we are in that highest aspect, when we have activated the throat chakra, when we speak our truth, then worlds can be formed just by our
mm,
creation. Abracadabra. Nick's comment from earlier is that creation.
yeah.
And just reading in the Sophia Code, that's one of the books that I'm reading in my book club, is that um, as we speak, our voice. So in Sanskrit, where English originally comes from, it's like the syllables of the word. And so, like Om, that's the creation, that's
Hmm.
the world. And oh, I got a big airplane coming by.
Just
I
drop
have,
buzz. It was like we had Top Gun coming in.
yes. Oh, I know that was like perfect. I'm gonna have to see that show. Yes.
Yeah. You know what though? Like so yeah, like with creation,
Yeah.
thoughts could become
Yes.
things. So you need to be aware and conscious of your thoughts, and
Yes.
then when you speak them, that's when they truly become
Yeah.
very, very powerful. So you need to watch those
Very much.
words, watch your thoughts, watch your words. And we talk about being. Those are
Mhm.
those are thoughts manifest. That is action. That is your thoughts in action.
Yeah.
And so start paying attention to your thoughts and how you're being. You
Yes.
want to be happy, start being happy. Start having happy thoughts.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy,
Yeah.
you know?
If it needs to be expressed or a feeling needs to be felt, give it that space.
Mm,
Allow it that space to be felt in your body at its full capacity. And then it'll move from there. It won't stay and then it won't manifest. You won't try to reenact that because that feeling wants to be heard and that need needs to be met. And then you won't, you know, react on it. Radical honesty and responsibility.
hmm
Having that responsibility, once you become more and more conscious and aware of how you're being, then you have more responsibility to take action and, being able to step up to that as well.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
That stuff's amazing.
Yes.
I
Yes.
could sit like and learn, like there's so many modalities, and what I
There
appreciate
is.
too about you is that your modality is so beautiful. It's comforting, it's
Thank you.
calming, it's healing. It's and
Yeah.
a lot of that is because of the person behind that as well.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
know, because there can be people that maybe you have a different experience with in that same modality. I experienced Shawnalee as very calming, very healing. As I met with her and I went through a Reiki session, we talked about the things that were holding me down, the things that were holding me
Yeah.
back, and the things that we went to the root cause of judgments and
Yeah.
fears and worries, right? And we sat
Mhm.
there and we talked about it and then
Yeah.
released those. And I'm telling you, like as I was able to release that and share with her what those were and release that, oh my, it was like a yoke, like a whole weight
Great.
was
Mhm.
just,
Mm.
oh my
Yep.
gosh,
Ooh.
it was
Yeah.
so amazing. And then that created a new awareness. I didn't want that to that feeling, right, to disappear, go
Yeah.
away. And so it helped me to be able to see how I was showing up and who Ryan was being, and to heal old wounds, and to pay attention to those, and then to
Yeah.
speak new things into existence of how I wanted to be and who
Yeah.
I am. In fact, I've got a session with Abigail Elia, who also has a show on Wake Up with
Ooh.
Giants TV. Yep,
Nice.
and she had her first show the other day, and it was amazing.
Mm.
And she is very, very powerful when it comes to the throat chakra. She speaking
Ooh.
her I am statements. I've
Yes.
got an appointment with her on Friday to go through those and to be able to so that I can be
Yeah.
able to speak that,
Speak it
speak
out.
my truth, speak what I want to occur in my life and how I'm being. So we're going to work on my I am statements. I'll have those ready for
I
you
love
guys
it.
some point in the future, and I'll share those with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything after you say I am is the truth. I am is that I am,
Yeah.
right? That's the creation. That's the God force within. And as within, so without. And what we speak manifests. So then why not tell yourself the truth? Your subconscious might not believe it right away because, you've said so many other things that weren't that, but it'll take time and
Hmm.
it happens. And then it believes. And then your body just takes over. And then once your body just takes over, what you wanted is yours. And
Mm,
that's created. And so, if we can just hold ourselves in love and compassion, not expecting perfection, but just expressing from love, creating from love, is this in love or is this in fear? And just going back to that, like, am I, being honest in my expression? Am I stepping up to my truth? Am I wishing? Am I wanting? Or am I putting it into action? And there's the differences in those, and just loving all those pieces of you and just holding space for people. A lot of people just need that space that's held to know that they are safe for that expression and that you are one that they could come to be able to express and to be able to, have that friendship and that bond. And our greatest things we have in life are relationships and people. And I'm sure grateful for you, and I'm
mm.
grateful for Nick and for this opportunity, as this allows me to also step up and to see who I am being and what I want to create in the world.
Mm.
And
I know
thank
exactly
you for
who you are because that is how you show up
that.
every single dang time, and it's amazing.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
as you were speaking, I was also thinking about at home how we a lot of times we'll have those negative self-talk moments,
Yeah.
but where I've had to learn to grow is in the finding grace for
Yes.
myself
Mm-hmm.
and learning
It's the
that
biggest.
just to hold that space too for myself because I can't rely on every single person out there, right, to hold it for me. I have
No.
to learn eventually to hold it for myself and to
Yes.
love myself, and I do. I love myself. I love who I'm being. I love Ryan the Lion. I love how I'm showing up, and I love all of you. And
Thank
that gives me that energy and the desire to continue to carry on that message that you are worthy, that you matter,
you. Yes.
that you can be, do, or have anything that you want, that you're giants. And
You are.
you, Shawnalee, are doing that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you said that too. Is that just the most important thing? Is we expect other people, and it starts with us first.
I agree.
Yeah, it starts with us. You are your own teacher. You are your own healer, and you are your own hero. And that's just like been one of the guiding things for me. Um, yes. So kind of wrapping up. Thank you so much for this creation together. And I'm grateful for that. And also just want to let you know about my next show. So it'll be on Friday. I believe it's the 25th of January at 7 p.m. Last Friday of the month. It's a different format. So this will be Limitless with Shawnalee.
It'll
Just
be
reminding.
the 28th, I believe, if I'm
28.
seeing that right. 28th.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you for looking at the
I got
calendar
you.
for me. Yes, with Nicholas T. Smith, who happens to be on the
I know
show,
that guy.
who might have been the one that put all of this creation together.
Nicholas
And
T. Smith, the
yeah,
mystical giant.
the mystical giant. And we will
Hmm.
be discussing the as if principle. And then also his book, which I have right here, is The Art of Accomplishment. So if you have not picked up this copy, you'll want to pick up a copy for yourself so you can be in the story with us and along with the conversation as what?
What?
Oh, yeah, did I
Girl, I'll
tell
tell
you?
you what. Can I tell you about Nicholas T. Smith? Nicholas T. Smith. I ran into Nicholas T. Smith at an RV dealership.
Wow.
And from day one of meeting him, I knew that that was a guy that I wanted to be around and that I wanted to work
Mhm.
with. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know. I didn't know. I had no
Yeah.
idea. But I'll tell you what I did say. I said, I will work with that guy. We will be in business together one way or another. I don't know how, but I want to work with that guy. And then
Look
fast
what.
forward, by putting it into action and speaking it into the universe, uh, Nick and I were able to create this whole journey that we've been on. Started with Nick about 12, 13 years ago when he started writing
Wow.
the giants and the smalls, and he was going through one of the hardest points in his entire life, feeling as small as he's ever felt. And he had a conversation with the great Steve Hardison,
Mm,
who helped him to see a new perspective, just like what
mm.
we're doing tonight, where we
Yeah.
just we come into your living room and we talk to you and help you to see something different. And it changed the entire course of Nick's life. And he went home and is reading or listening to maybe Spencer Johnson's Who Moved My Cheese.
Yes.
And he said, you know what? Oh my gosh, this story, this download just started coming to him. And the giant in the book, I'm going to do a spoiler alert, that's
Yeah.
Steve Hardison. That was based on that conversation because he asked Steve Hardison a question. He said, "Can you?" And before he could even finish his sentence, and Nick doesn't even necessarily remember what he was going to ask Steve. Steve Hardison says, "Yes." And he's like, "Well, how could you do that? How could how could you say yes? You don't even know what I'm going to ask you." He says, "Because there's nothing that you can ask me that's bigger than I am, that I
Mm,
can't figure out."
mm.
And he was that giant, that catalyst that took this into a whole new realm. And then from two guys stepping, Nick and
Yeah.
I just showing up day to day. Thank you, brother, for acknowledging
Yeah.
me in this effort too. But um,
Yeah.
just showing up, being in the right place at the right time, because that's where we believed we were, not because we were always were. I guarantee you, there's some times
Yeah.
we were like, we probably shouldn't be here. But guess what? We believe that we should be, and every little experience took us closer to our end goal, which was the creation of all of this.
Yeah.
And then all of you, I've seen all of you commenting and
Yeah.
sharing and coming together. Wake Up with Giants TV and Shawnalee and Dorothy Inez and Nicole Castillo and Tana Grover and Natalie Smith and all of these giants. Alex Dumas, who has a show, and Abigail Olaya, now coming together as one collective voice with their own individual voices, sharing their giants messages. And so that's my plug for Nick Smith. You're going to want to watch that show.
Yeah.
because
Anyone
he's
who
got
wants
a
to show.
lot to share.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited. I
Thank
just
you
get
for
to
having me on too.
Oh, I am so excited. You are my brother.
You're my
And
sister.
yes. I'm so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for you. And we're a family in the tribe of giants. And I just love how everyone uplifts everyone else. And we are giants. And any moment that we may lapse or fall, somebody's got your back. And that's really what it is got your back. And
Amen.
that's a
love
lot of
it.
times just what people need. So thank you for joining the show. February 28th. No, January 28th. I'm already counting.
Maybe February 28th too. Who knows? Have to watch her show
No.
to find out what day she's going to come back.
Yes. Follow the TV guide. That's
Yeah,
probably the
we
better.
do. We have a TV guide these days. Thanks,
Yeah.
Shawnalee.
Yes. All right. Well, everyone have a safe night and take it easy on yourself and know that you are who you're
Be
being.
blessed. We love you.
Yeah, be blessed. Thanks.
Love you too.